Well, come on already, he says. We were just waiting for you, Xanadu.
Hey everybody, happy Monday.
Yes, welcome to the Monday night stream. Obviously we have Danny here because we're talking houseplants. And I don't think you were around much for last week's stream because there was all kinds of houseplant talk.
I did not make it to last week's stream.
Yeah, you needed to be there last week, so you're here this week. We're going to be talking about plants.
We can finish up the questions.
Houseplants in the aquariums. Why, who, what, when, and where.
Probably very relevant for both of us right now because I just saw Bob's fish room for the first time since it's
Been a while, yeah.
And holy crap, I'm pretty sure he has more plants than I do right now.
It's a little nuts in there.
It's a little nuts in there.
You can't, so all my fish tanks are around the walls and all my plants are in front of them and you can't even see my fish tanks.
It doesn't even look like a fish room. It's a plant room. It's awesome. It's my kind of fish room for sure.
And I haven't announced this yet, but I did just possibly acquire some wholesales for houseplants. Some wholesale licenses, so we'll see. Might get crazy around here.
That's really dangerous. That's exciting though.
Audio video is good. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, he did let me have the good chair.
Yes.
He's way taller than I am, and that chair's pretty short, so we swapped so it's at least somewhat height.
Yeah, so my second office chair got ruined in the flood that we had last month. So now I'm sitting in a fold-up lawn chair, and I gave her the throne.
I like it. Danny's not wearing a hat.
It's really warm in here.
It's really warm in here, and I just got off work, but I was wearing a hat.
Yoink. So we already have our first question. We're just gonna get right into it. Carmo says, "Hey Danny, what houseplants should I grow out of my 50-gallon lowboy pond style?" And you have two.
I have two lowboys.
Courtesy of Aquarium Co-op. Got a shout out. Those
yeah.
were donated to your fish room via Aquarium Co-op, so huge shout out there.
Yeah, that was an awesome opportunity, and they're my favorite tanks. The lowboys are awesome. They have great light dispersion, which is even like plants, like aquatic plants that require CO2, grow really well. But as far as house plants, in mine in particular, I have a lot of pothos. I've actually set a few entire pothos baskets down in there, and they have just like taken over. And monsteras, I have monsteras, like I'll take a cutting off my main plant and literally just stick it right on the edge, and now they're kind of growing off and up.
Do you stick it in the substrate or?
Nope. I just kind of use its form to like hang it on the edge, and I've got that going in a few different tanks now, and they've really gone nuts. There's so many. Honestly, I was surprised. I was a plant person before I got into fish, and I knew that like as far as aquatic plants and stuff, they would merge really well. But as far as like how my house plants have now taken to the tanks, kind of on their own and by my choice. They're thriving, and I'm getting some awesome variegation out of some of them that are in places where there's not a lot of light, so it's been a cool experiment. Definitely now that it's been going for about a year and a half, things are getting really established, so it's really cool.
I do want to address the mics. The volume is really low. If you have a headset or earbuds or, you know, like a Dolby surround sound, I highly recommend it. So I had to turn the mics down because we're getting... in our pre-stream warm-up before this stream, we were getting some hissing, and we couldn't figure out where it was, and the only way to get rid of it was to turn the mics down. So it is a little quiet. I apologize. But
they're working this time.
It's yeah, we got to do it this way. It's just the way it is, unfortunately.
I'll try to talk as loud as possible. I'm not a very loud talker, but if anyone needs me to say something over again, just let me know in the chat.
The Fluval ads are rough. Wait. Is someone running Fluval ads on my channel right now?
Huh?
I don't know. Fluval ads are rough. I don't know what that means. The Denny's mic get quieter. Is there a time of function on those things?
Sometimes I forget to talk normal, like louder. I'm supposed to project when it comes to the live streams, but I'm kind of a quiet talker in general.
I'll listen to us. I'll see what we sound like.
Okay.
I can still hear everyone though, so it's all good.
Everybody's saying hi. I'm kind of missing who the individuals are, but hi BJ, hi Brian.
So audio's
now.
fine. We can turn it up on our end. Okay, y'all are quiet in my earbuds.
Okay.
Yeah, like I have this on all the way high, and it sounds fine. But if I turn it down a little bit, it's really quiet. So I don't know. There's no workaround for it right now. I have to turn this back off, but. So I want to back this up a little bit. I'll try to talk a little bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Fluval ads are long and infomercially.
They're just playing? Like, do you have like ads in the live stream?
I do not.
Weird.
Unless they're paying YouTube to run their ads in my live stream.
Oh yeah. Yes, logging into the stream, you get Google ads.
Interesting.
Sorry.
That means that Fluval is actually paying me.
Hey.
All right. That's kind of weird. Or you could get YouTube Premium, which is totally worth $10 a month. Well, I don't like promoting it as a streamer or a YouTuber because I actually get paid less from Premium.
Oh.
So that's how much I like it. Like, it's totally worth it. But anyways,
they're saying that mine is lower than yours. Is there a way to fix that?
Yeah, here, let me see yours.
Do you know of any houseplants that can grow immersed?
All right, here, try that.
Yeah, my pothos grow immersed, and especially in a low tank. Like a higher tank, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble, but if it's a lower tank with not too much depth, you can really pothos will kind of go down into the tank, will get itself to the substrate, and then will start to root and go up from there. I know that a lot of aquatic plants, like in their form, are actually very similar to houseplants as far as how they would convert. A lot of houseplants will also, they can be planted under the water and grown up out of the water, kind of how you see like Amazon swords and stuff do. So I've got like peace lilies that do that. Really, it's just a few plants that I have, and then I take cuttings off my plants and I've just kind of dispersed them all around. Lots of climbing plants, lots of monsteras, spider plants, like Bob's got a couple back here.
So I actually want to bring this back a little bit in case we attract some new people in here. Why would somebody put houseplants in their aquarium? Like, what would be the advantage?
Oh goodness.
Like I could think of a few things if you want me to start.
Go for it.
Just besides it being awesome.
Right, that was gonna be my first one. 'Cause it looks
For
so cool.
yeah. For overstocked tank, it's really beneficial to put pothos in like a hang-on back aquarium, just because they're super fast growing and they can suck up a lot of nitrates. So on a practicality level, like if you actually want your plant to do something, then other than just be there for looks, fast growing houseplants will remove nitrates out of your water.
Yeah, totally. It's great for that purpose. It also, like, if house plants are your thing, the tanks themselves with all of the waste that the fish produce helps boom your starts. So I get all my starts started in the fish tanks, then I'll take them out and plant them from there. I also especially with how kind of jungly my fish room has gotten, it really helps with kind of more shy fish because they've got stuff around them, over them. It kind of acts like like extra hiding spaces almost. They feel a little bit safer. So I've noticed that, especially as I transitioned from my previous fish room into this one, some of the fish that were shy originally have now really gotten comfortable.
Yeah, so we got a few good points here. Man, my nose just itches right here. I'm just bugging. Zen Ginger says it's pretty, removes nitrates, and it gives fry hiding spots.
Yep. Hiding spots for sure.
And then some dude says, I used to have Belgian white and Snow White waffle plants, autumn, lemon, button, and rosy maiden ferns in my paludarium. The roots grew into the water and really kept my nitrates down.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing that I did last weekend. As I got these ferns in 2-inch pots, and what filter? I'm using the biggest Aquarium hang-on back filter. No. It's the Marine. Yeah, it's the stupid power wheel because I took the wheels off. So the Marine Land, those 2-inch pots fit in the back canister perfectly.
Oh, nice.
And so the whole back is lined with 2-inch ferns, like halfway out, and they're growing like crazy.
I actually have a couple like hang-on breeder boxes that have cracked or broken that I just have left kind of hanging inside the tanks. and I'll put some of my plants that I know aren't going to like vine or hang on the edge. I'll set them in there like that and allow them to kind of grow up and out of the aquarium that way.
Freshwater Sea says, today's like Christmas Eve for me. I have so many fish coming tomorrow.
That's the best feeling.
I'm going to hit this super chat really quick. Got a couple of them. Ginger says, 100 watching, only 54 likes. Please don't forget to hit the like button. If you want Danny to return, we got to get the like count up. She will only come back if we reach 150 likes. And Curtis with the $1 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. So here's a good question from Alice. Says, what's a good alternative to pothos? I have cats, and one I know for sure would chew on it. So I'm not a cat person as far as knowing what's toxic. I do have plants in there that are toxic to cats and dogs.
Yeah.
And so far, my dogs have avoided them. But I always have that fear because my dogs are really dumb and they'll eat dirt. And if they'll eat dirt, surely they'll eat something back there. So I actually have it, a dog gate back there now that I use to keep them away from the plants. But is there anything that you know of that's plant safe? Is pothos safe for
you
cats?
know, as far as I know, I mean, a good amount of the traditional houseplants are toxic to either cats or dogs or both. And I have 7 indoor-outdoor cats.
At least.
So I've definitely tested my plants. And I will say that over the years, they've chewed on a leaf here or there, but I've never had any issues. But I will say, if you are worried about it, keeping your plants up high. I have a lot that hang from the rafters, or I've got like kind of up on top of shelves, or stuff that maybe they can't get to. As far as an alternative, yeah, again, I'm not really positive which ones in particular are good for cats. But
I think we better should just stay away in case we say, hey, this plant's safe, and then your cat eats it and dies. Like, I don't want to be responsible for that.
There's a lot of lists on YouTube. I know that I've like looked them up and I've read them. As far as absorbing them, I did not. I just kind of have gone with it. And my plants are all now in the fish shed, away from the animals, although the cats like to invite themselves in whenever the door is ajar, but mostly just to drink out of the aquariums.
Pothos are not safe for cats. Cats? What about...
I want to say philodendron, but again, I think philodendrons are also toxic to cats. But there's lots of vining style philodendrons or Hoyas. But again, I don't know as far as the toxic levels.
Lilies are toxic.
Yeah.
What about spider
and
plant?
palms. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think Caleithia, is that how you say it? I wonder if those would grow because they do like water. They love water.
They do like water, yeah. You could probably do a Caleithia because they're more straight up and down, so they're not going to hang off of a tank very well, but you could do them like you were talking about in the hang-on back filter, or in an old breeder box and stuff like that.
So Brian says Lucky Bamboo. Now this is a very popular plant because it's sold at PetSmart and Petco. And yes, it can be used for nitrates, but in my experience, it's not very fast growing, which means it's not going to use a lot of nitrates.
Yeah. I want to play around with some aquaponics this year, just a little bit. There's lots of things I want to play around with this year, so we shall see.
Pothos toxicity to cats is drooling or throwing up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, is it really that big? Will they have an upset stomach for a day? Like, what? You know, how? I have no idea. I'm not a cat person.
Yeah, my cats in general, like my younger cats, are the ones that would really give my plants hell, and there's still a couple that are in the fish room that that are still recovering. But for the most part, the cats have just kind of, I get on them with the spray bottle, and that was really all that they needed to know to kind of stay out of the plants.
So here's a good suggestion. Zane says the SPCA has a page that lists the toxicity of a very large number of common houseplants. So
yeah,
check out the SPCA. I know Sunnyside Nursery.
Yeah.
They actually have signs, like on their sections, like philodendron is like not safe for dogs or cats. So some nurseries, you know, they actually have it listed, and I'm sure you could ask the people that work there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good sources, and some of the lists vary and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, if you're there's definitely a lot, so it's best to check the list.
Zen Ginger says rattlesnake plant, which is my favorite, one of my favorites. Spider plants,
like that one.
Parlor palm, Caleithia, ponytail palm, which I still need to get one of those. African violets, bird nest farm, and more. Bird nest fern.
I like those ferns a lot.
Didn't I give you a rattlesnake plant?
Yeah, it's doing awesome.
Oh, sweet.
Is yours still going?
Mm-hmm. All my Calithias are doing really well. I've only lost one leaf.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think they just like that humid, warm environment, and I miss them every day too, so that helps. So some other popular houseplants would be obviously spider plant we talked about. Peace lily is a really good one that I've used. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know, I just can't get into the philodendron. Like, I need to just try it. And my hang up is I have 2 philodendrons that I water like crazy, and they're dying. And then if I use like the little app to say like what's wrong with them, it says that they're not, it's like they need more water.
I'd have to take a look at them, but we could possibly switch up the way in which you're watering them, because they don't need that much water. They shouldn't anyways. So it could be like maybe the soil that they're in is really lacking like organics, so it's just allowing
it is,
that
yeah,
water
it is
to
just
drain
that
through.
common nursery soil.
It could be. There's different ways to water in terms of like over the soil or using like a tray and doing like bottom watering, which helps a lot of those tropical style plants get established.
So Andy asked a good question that I actually tried to find out myself last week. And he says, the question is, are houseplants toxic to fish? Not cats, but fish, which is a very good question. And I was actually asking around and doing research, and I couldn't find anyone that would give me a definitive answer.
I honestly,
Nobody wanted to
don't
be
know
responsible.
And before I really got into the hobby, I was putting plants in tanks or my ponds out in the garden. So I really didn't even think about that. But I don't think I've ever had a problem with adding plants in and having that be an issue. I would say the worst thing is you can get some die-off from your plants, like say the transition to going into the water, or you start a new start and maybe the roots die off or parts of the leaves kind of die off. That can create an ammonia spike in your tanks, which would definitely harm your fish, especially depending on the size and the amount. But so you do kind of want to watch for that stuff. But as far as like specifically toxic, I don't know.
I killed a prayer plant. Isn't that Calithias?
I think it's a type of Calathea. So they're the ones that close and open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Calithias do that.
Calatheas are not my strong suit. Philodendrons are my strong suit, mostly.
I'm the opposite. All my philodendrons are struggling. All of them. Which is, they're supposed to be like the easiest plant in the world.
All right. Well,
all my pothos are doing well.
Yeah, pothos are a great beginner plant.
Monstera's doing well.
Most people, when they first get pothos, or just plants in general, overwatering is the issue. Pothos can definitely take overwatering, so they're a great first plant. And there's lots of different variegations and variations now, so you can really, I think I've got over 10 different pothos in the fish room, different colors and types.
I use dead leaves to feed my culture of scuds. It's an easy, free food. There you go.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I definitely have had, I like leaf litter that I have dried out and saved and kind of reused for some tanks.
How would a dwarf umbrella plant do in a hang on back? I don't know what that plant is, to be honest.
Umbrella plant. So I'm thinking of a pond plant, umbrella plant, which would definitely, those are the ones that I had in those floating planters, if you saw the last update on his channel. But I'm not sure if that's a different style or not. But that type of plant in general is a bog style plant. So like in a hang on back filter or kind of on the edge of a tank. You know,
oh, you just gave me an idea. So I have a, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. The fly eating plant.
Yeah, yeah.
Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
I should put that in a hang on back filter.
Totally. They do, however, thrive with acidic water. So catching rainwater and watering them that way, you'll really see them thrive.
That's actually makes a lot of sense.
But you're on a well here, right?
It's half and half.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I haven't figured out when or how they decide to transition between the two. I'm sure there's something in the well that's like, okay, it's low, switch on city water.
Okay, that makes sense.
What I'm just assuming.
Interesting.
It makes it fun. Bob has a dwarf umbrella plant. I don't know. Maybe I used it in the background at one point.
I'm gonna have to do a plant tour.
So
after this.
there's probably 200 plants in my room, and
Insane.
I could name probably 5.
That's really, I mean, I am no plant expert. I just started falling in love with plants and started rescuing plants, started propagating plants. Any friend that wants to give me a plant, I've learned as I've gone. And I think that's honestly the best way to retain plant knowledge. I did so much research for not only the plant hobby, but also the fish hobby when I first started, that then once I started actually trying to do it, I was like, what the heck did I just read? So you just kind of have to get your toes wet and go from there. I couldn't tell you all the names of every plant I have, but I know how to care for it now that I've had it.
And thank you, Ginger, for the $5 super chat. I hope that somehow answered your question. I don't know. Nutrients in the soil water will kill carnivorous plants. I expect to get them from their prey.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense if they're coming from like a bog environment. That's
Yeah.
going to be pretty acidic.
Yep. Yeah, I've got them in a whiskey barrel outside of the fish room. That's I never drilled a hole in it, so it fills up with rainwater. But it's also pretty soil logged, and it loves it there. It thrives every summer.
Lacy Dragon says, "I want a carnivorous plant that will eat guppy fry." I'm sure Venus flytraps would eat guppy fry without any issues. Obviously, you'd have to place it in the leaf,
Yeah.
but
That is one thing, actually. So with houseplants in general, you can get some things like fungus gnats or bugs that come in, and that could potentially bother you in the fish room. I have a ton of bugs in my fish room, but I noticed that they land in the tanks and they get eaten, so it's kind of like replicating an outdoor environment. But something like that, like the Venus flytrap, but they also have hanging varieties. Like you could hang over a tank and it could catch your bugs if you didn't want that.
interesting. Bladderwort. Oh yes, bladderwort is a aquarium plant that is carnivorous.
Yes, bladderwort is kind of like invasive. It kind of takes over.
I would not recommend it. If you want a plant that's just going to, or a tank that's just going to explode in one type of plant, I mean, it looks good. It does look good, but it's really hard to get rid of if you ever want to. You basically have to tear the whole tank down and start over if you ever want to get rid of it. Because just like just a little piece can break off and end up under a rock somewhere or under hardscape, and you don't see it, and then it'll start to come back.
Yeah.
It's such a pain to get rid of.
It's kind of like a duckweed.
I would say harder than duckweed to get rid of. Oh yeah.
Oh, you want to know something crazy? So
yes.
I have the 1-2 grow plants that you got, right? I set them up in a tank. I had no other plants in there, and all of a sudden that tank is booming with duckweed. I thought for some reason those tissue cultured plants didn't come with that type of stuff.
It didn't come from there. It came from something else. You probably had some on your shirt and you like leaned over the tank and it fell in.
Well, it loves that tank.
It is literally impossible for duckweed to come on tissue culture.
Lovely.
UPS, Living the Dream says, "Hey guys, it's good to see you streaming with Bob and Danny again. It's good to see you streaming."
Hey, Katie.
All right.
Happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it.
It's the difference between life knowledge and book knowledge. Yeah, when it comes to books, I love to read and I love to watch video. I definitely ran through YouTube for months before I really got into the hobby. But I am definitely someone who learns through the doing. That's where it will retain for me the most.
Yeah, I don't know, like I really have to care about something to read about it and retain the knowledge. I'm hands-on too, for sure. Came from your net or something. It was on you somewhere.
It probably, I did use, I transferred some fish in there, so maybe.
And Andy brings up something that I wanted to talk about. He says he gets springtails on top of his water lettuce and floating hornwort all the time. Free guppy food as I see it. Springtails are extremely beneficial if you have a fish room. Even if you just have a fish tank in your house and you see like little bugs skipping across the water. They're usually white, but there's so many different types. This is a very good bug for you to have. Even if it's like in your $1 million mansion with your 300-gallon show tank and you have these bugs, what they're doing is they're in the reptile world, they're used as a cleanup crew because they'll eat anything that's moldy. So if you get like, I'd like to see one tank that doesn't have like one piece of flake food on it somewhere.
Oh, mine are disaster right now.
So if you get that piece of flake food
I'm
on there,
so messy with my food when I go through.
it gets wet, it starts to mold. Then they'll come over and they'll eat all the mold, and they'll just clean everything. They're super awesome. I would not want to get rid of them.
They're great because I know that they're used pretty heavily within the reptile cages or like paludariums and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could also, put springtails right in your houseplants that are amongst your tanks, and they'll help keep. You can get like bacterial stuff, funguses and rots and stuff, molds on the tops of your soil, and they'll help clean that up too. Keep your plants and your tanks healthy.
Yeah, I think I actually have a video of springtails on my channel somewhere.
Nice.
Secret History Living in the Aquarium says, I love springtails. Yeah, they're so beneficial. They're super clean. I would not get rid of them. I would not worry about them. I would not get one of those like gnat fly trap things.
Yeah, I guess if I don't even have the time to be worried about it if I wanted to. I have so many other fish to fry at the moment, but, and I don't mean that literally. I don't mean that literally.
I've seen it.
But I definitely, I just let the bugs be the bugs. As long as my fish are eating it and it's not getting out of control. I definitely, I've got a ton of frogs in there that have gone wild. Some of them are so big they knock my lights off the tanks.
Your snake's probably still in there too.
Don't say that. I think he's gone.
Freshwater Sea says, I bought springtails for my vampire crab terrarium. Yep, they're just so beneficial.
You could grow pennywort out a tank. Yeah, definitely. I actually just got a few pennyworts started in my low boys. So I'm hoping to really get that booming. And Alice asked, can sword plants grow out of the tank and still survive? Absolutely. Yeah. I do find if you order plants online, a lot of the times they're grown primarily out of the water. So when they come into these fish stores or some of the online retailers, they're converting them from that immersed to submersed growth. But if you get them that way, you could literally just plant them with the starts already sticking out and they'll go gangbusters. They'll probably thrive a little bit better. I found that a couple of my already immersed or converted swords, they get to the top of the water and then they just go like that, which looks pretty cool in my opinion, but it wasn't exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, there are some very specific Amazon swords that will grow. And actually the Smoky Point Petco is a really good place to look.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes they just don't sell plants for whatever reason, and they just grow right out of their little plant holder, so they're already like 2 feet tall.
Oh, nice.
And they have them marked down because they think they're a nuisance and like nobody wants them.
See, I always go to the Lake Stevens ones, but maybe I should hit up the Smoky Point.
Don't take my Petco. I shouldn't have said the location.
I was staying in my lane. But,
Those are my plants. Stay in your lane. You better stay in your lane.
No, I got to start going to the Smoky Point one because somebody's getting me into salt water. Apparently they have a cool selection of stuff to look at.
Okay. I don't know that I would get saltwater stuff there, but they do have probably the largest selection
Of the local Petcos, yeah. Well, there's not a lot of
of
saltwater
all fish stores. Yeah.
up here. Yeah.
You'd have to go to. I think even the ones in like Seattle have closed down.
Yeah, it's down south. I think is really the closest one.
When I had fungus gnats, they were getting bad. They were getting the underside of my glass lids. That's when you just get some hatchet fish. Somewhere I saw a list. Here we go. Pothos, Phylos, Sino something, Monstera, and Phytonias are my workhorse plants for this. Really, any terrarium plant can work. Right here. What is this? Synogoniums?
I think it's Sigonium. It's Syngonium.
Syngoniums. As a kid in the 50s, I always loved to take cuttings from my mom's plants and watch the root and grow in my tank. That's pretty cool.
I have the big Monstera, the Swiss cheese Monstera, and I've taken a couple cuttings off of that. And not only is it like trying to root in the tanks, but it's also like shot out runners into my other house plants and is like taken off down into those. So if you want to see some really cool rooting plants, one of those giant Monsteras really does the trick.
So do you just cut at the stem and just place the stem in the water?
So there is a little, and it definitely differs from plant to plant, but the nice thing about like pothos or philodendrons, you don't want to cut specifically anywhere, but they basically, I don't know if you noticed, they'll grow in like segments, and at each segment is like where a leaf comes out, but also right below that is, they call it a node. It's basically where like those aerial roots or submerged roots would grow out of. As long as you cut below that node, as long as each section, I mean, you could take a whole line of a pothos and cut down the line, as long as you have a node on that each little individual one, then you'll be able to get some root growth.
Interesting.
So yeah, just cut, whatever you want to cut off, just make sure it's right below that node and you'll be good to go.
So Alex says the Alderwood Petco by the mall is a tier 1 Petco. They order shrimp and panda loaches, all sorts of cool stuff.
Ooh, good
so for
to
anybody,
know.
if people don't know, Petcos are rated by tier.
I did not know that, but that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and it's based on like volume of sales.
Yeah.
And the more volume they have, the more they're allowed to order. Essentially, like the more variety, the more stuff they can order. This is why sometimes if you go into a Petco, let's say they put up a Petco and they project it to be like a tier 2 store, but it's only a tier 3, so now they have like empty tanks in there, is because they're not even allowed to fill them. Even though they're there, they're not allowed to fill them.
Got to up your sales. Get with the big
ridiculous.
boys. My Petco in Lake Stevens just started carrying discus for the first time, which is pretty cool.
Wow. I've never seen discus at a Petco before.
I know. It's $50 for the common, and then they sell like the marble ones, and they'll do like $100 for that.
Some nodes are bigger than others. Does it matter? As long as there's a node there?
Yeah, some nodes are definitely bigger. It's just the process as far as how far along it is in its development. It starts out, it looks almost like a little scab and then it grows from there, kind of will be like a little fingernail. And then, I mean, for monsteras and philodendrons especially, they can get some pretty long aerial roots. So yeah, it doesn't matter how long it is, and the more, the better.
I really want to go and put some philodendrons in some tanks now.
Yeah. There's different types. Like some of the upright ones we got, I haven't tried those ones. If it's a vining or a branching or, that style, it really works.
I'm talking
well.
like orange prints.
Ooh. I don't know if I'd take some of your more rare stuff and go nuts.
Well, it's dying anyways. That's why I'm like,
well,
screw it.
Shoot. This is how we learn, guys.
I have tiny black bugs that could be frog bait. Yeah, those are probably springtails as well. They come in many different colors.
I have some Anubias nana that is growing as a terrestrial plant, and my gecko vivarium. Yeah, Anubias in general, they are a bit more of a bog plant, so they would prefer their roots wet and attached to something, and then they'll almost like grow like a carpet, and the leaves can grow outside of the water.
Yeah, unless you're buying from a hobbyist, all Anubias is grown out of water.
Right, yeah.
So Hoon Aquatics, who also has is some pretty rare houseplants, says, what are your favorite houseplants in general? Probably, if I had to pick one group, probably the pepperoni plants.
Peperomias?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I had a really beautiful pepperoni, whatever, I don't know, whatever. But it was I bought it like in like a 2-inch pot, and I repotted it in my plant wall.
Oh yeah.
And it just like quadrupled in size like in a week.
It loves it.
And it was like purple and maroon and all kinds of weird colors. I don't know what kind it was, and my dog ate it. But that, obviously there was like shredded leaves everywhere. But what I learned is you can just put the leaves in soil.
Yeah. And
they'll grow.
Succulents are like that too. I don't think you have any succulents, but
no, I kill them.
Yeah, succulents and cactuses, if you're talking like plants for a fish room, are not going to be the best because they're going to like it a little bit drier. And I mean, my fish room sits at about 70%.
Have you seen the giant
70% humidity
cactus garden outside?
Here? Yes, I'm obsessed.
It's crazy.
It's like, so one of my favorite cactuses is a prickly pear. They're edible, and we like to grill them up for tacos specifically. But I have a couple, and they're slow growers, cactuses in general, especially being here in Washington. But there is the best, most like robust prickly pear plant out there.
I mean, it's got to be like 12 feet.
I want to like offer
It's
her yard work
carpeting.
just so I could like have some.
Think about doing discus in my 75. I found a mixed pack of 7 2-inch discus for $150.
Ooh, wow.
I'm not a big discus person, but I can appreciate their beauty. There's some really cool ones out there for sure.
I plan once I kind of I have that 125 planted sump.
You never answered what your favorite plant was.
Oh. Let me finish that before I forget. I have the 125 planted sump, which right now I've got rainbows and some flagfish in, but will eventually be home to some discus and rainbows. My favorite plants. Okay, so these are my least favorite questions because I'm a Libra and we can't pick favorites to save our lives. But I love philodendrons. I love Hoyas and orchids. I've never done well with orchids until I introduced orchids into my fish room. And now I'm kind of obsessed, and I really, I would love to someday get my hands on some of the more rare varieties. Some of them, like, they're a little bit smaller, more delicate, and have some really awesome flowers and structures. So I love ferns, but I'm struggling with ferns. So they're my learning plant.
The thing I'm learning with ferns is that they love water and oxygen at the same time.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm building a fern wall, and I think it's going to do really well.
I'm sure, yeah. They're kind of also like a fern I would equate to like an Anubias or a Java fern. They like to be attached to something and established. They like moisture. I have to mist mine twice a day. And I actually, I've got some like propagation bins that I will put them in and mist them up really good and get some water on the bottom and keep them in there while I have all the lights on.
You'll have to see my fern bins before you leave.
I'm going to be taking a plant tour for sure. But yeah, I would say those are kind of, I can't pick a favorite to save my life, but those
I definitely
are my
like philodendrons
right
myself. And monsteras.
I love a vining plant in general. Vining plants or wall-mounted plants or something that can like attach and just boom, those are my...
You'll have to also look at my bleeding heart vines.
You have bleeding heart inside? I have bleeding heart outside.
Probably my favorite vining plant of all time.
Really?
It's growing like gangbusters in there.
That little one, remember that I asked you that would be good for the gecko? We went to Bob goes like frequent flyer. I think they should put him on the payroll, but we've gone to our local nursery.
I tried, remember? I was like, will you guys hire me for 4 hours a week?
Just so we could get the discount. But we went there and I got a plant that I had asked him if he thought it might do okay in the gecko aquarium, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's got these really awesome, almost like clover-like leaves, but they're prickly on the outside, and that thing is going nuts. I'll have to put some pictures up.
Well, I think we're going to do another tour of your shed here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because you said a lot has changed.
A lot has changed there's definitely more plants in there. Most of the tanks are set up and established, and I think I've got fish now in all but one of them, one tank.
Alice says you might have to count your plants before Danny goes. I'll be checking her pockets for sure, let me tell you.
Well, a little leaf here, a little node here. We can share.
Bob Vance says, the stream's so nice. I liked it twice. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Bob Vance.
Of Vance Refrigeration.
Is Bob Vance local?
He used to be.
Okay. I remember when I very first met Bob, he was getting rid of all of those acrylic tanks. And I thought it was to a local person named Bob.
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, okay.
He came and got all my acrylic tanks.
Look at this memory. I'm surprised.
Chain of Hearts. I'm pretty sure it's... Of course, I could say Bleeding Heart because of Bleeding Heart Tetris, so I might be wrong.
Well, there is a Bleeding Heart plant.
Bleeding
There's
Heart...
There's a couple different varieties.
Vine. Or Bleeding Heart. I'll do plant.
What's the best accordion plants that would grow in aquarium? Accordion plants. I don't know if I know.
Okay, yeah, that's not it.
Accordion plants specifically.
Chain of Hearts. I'll do that one. Yeah, I saw the accordion one and I didn't get it either.
Yes, psycho. My favorite plant is anyone I can grow and grow well. Those are the ones that make me most excited.
No, it's not Chain of Heart either. I'm pretty sure it's Bleeding Heart.
Is that what?
But this
that's
isn't
a
it.
Bleeding Heart, yeah.
I think it's different than Vine though.
So those also come like a perennial, but you can plant them outside. They're also popular in those hanging baskets.
Yeah, it's this
like
one right here.
fuchsia.
This one.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's this one right. If it'll focus on that, there you go. And the reason I love it so much specifically is because the leaves look like Anubias caupifolia.
Really?
Which is my favorite Anubias.
There is a Chain of Hearts. That's a kind of like, they have like string of pearls or string of bananas. There's a Chain of Hearts. I don't think it's the exact same type of plant.
No, it's completely. Yeah, I searched that one too. It's smaller,
leaves,
round leaves. Yeah. And thank you, Psycho, for the $20 super chat. That's basically how I started.
Yeah.
Like I'm like.
My favorite fish are the ones that really do well.
I didn't do this with fish. I would say that
my favorite plants are the ones that
my
really
strategy
do well.
for plants were a little bit different. I bought a plant, and if it died, it died.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously
I did whatever I could, but it was just like, okay, this one's not good for my scenario here. And then I was like, maybe I should research the plants first.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to research them individually. I definitely will try a plant, and some of them I can figure it out before I lose them, but I've lost my fair share of plants for sure. You just kind of got to play around with them. I keep all my cactuses in the house because we've got a wood burning stove, and so they really appreciate the dry heat of the house. But other than that, just about everything is out in the shed with a little bit of humidity. But during the winter, I have to mist more because I got my heaters going more in there. It just kind of depends.
See, I think I came into the plant game with, I think, a little too much confidence.
You came in freaking hard.
Oh, yeah.
I was a little
Wait
bit
a minute.
nervous.
Just going to move past that comment.
Yeah.
I
was moving right past it. You're the one that couldn't.
So, my thing is, like, tropical plants, I have a tropical room.
That's true.
They're just going to survive. So I would just buy them.
Right.
And most of them did, to be honest. I haven't lost very many plants yet.
Well, and plants in general, especially if they are kind of a tropical plant, my plants, when I move them in together, like I've created like these areas where they're all kind of bunched in, they thrive with friends. When you give them that kind of jungle environment, they kind of create their own little ecosystems. The humidity stays a little higher between them.
And if you spend some time with them and talk to them.
Yeah,
and
you know. Hi, plant.
Surprisingly, the plant that I've killed the most and will never buy again is baby tears.
Really?
They just die every single time. This one that's right behind me is the only one that's ever lived. And it's dying too.
It
used to be way bushier, but it's not anymore.
Maybe it needs a stronger light?
Like, you can't even see it on the stream. It's so bright. Like, it's the one right over my shoulder. It has a lot of light.
Interesting.
I can send you tons of strings of hearts. Also, has Danny had angel winged begonias?
Angel wing begonia, yes. I actually, I used to be a housekeeper, and my very last client, before I started my own business, I took a piece off of his 30-year-old angel wing that was so heavily neglected in the corner, it was half dead. But I took like just 2 leaves and a node, and I have split that off now probably 10 times, and my cats love that plant. They love to attack it and knock it over, and it'll break off, and I just stick it in water, and it just keeps going. But they have amazing texture and like just the colors and the patterns to their leaves. It's like velvet, white spots on like kind of a dark green, and then the back is red.
So Marvin Locha Garden says, growing Anubias immersed, rhizome submerged or not, it doesn't matter. If you're growing it out of water, it's humidity that's going to keep it alive.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and you can treat like Bucephalandria the same way if you're into those. Same thing. As long as it's humid and it doesn't dry out, it'll do just fine.
Yeah, it's going to need a little bit of humidity for sure. He came in like a wrecking ball.
That's true. Like, you should see the nurseries. I mean, I just got the biggest cart I could find, and I was like, whoosh, whoosh. I was like, ferns, all the ferns. I love ferns.
He loves the 50% off rack. He just beelines it for it. And it's just like...
I'm like, get out, I'm throwing elbows. There's
I can get this to grow?
little Lanny's, little grannies looking at pots, and I'm like, get out of the way, make it to the 50% off section.
I beat him last time, and he's like, can you move? You're in my spot.
I'm like, this is my area.
This is your spot.
That's true. True story. I was like, I just kind of stood. I'm like,
you gonna move?
what are you doing right here?
He started by being polite. Yeah.
Fish question. What is your favorite fish to keep? Rainbow fish, Bradley. I saw, even though you removed your comment, I'm going to answer it anyways. Rainbow fish.
Oh man.
What kind of plants you like? Wait. What kind of plants like you need for fish tanks for plants to grow? Fish. What kind of plants?
What are you saying that?
Oh, wait. He might have redone it here. What's the best plants to make you crying? Jericho, I have no idea what any of your sentences mean, my friend. Sorry.
What's the best plants to make your aquarium look like a jungle? To make your house look like a jungle? Vining plants. Get yourself a bunch of vining plants, and you can do them at different positions. You can hang some from the ceiling. You can have some down on the ground. They'll grow up. I've got cinder block racks, and that texture of a cinder block. I've got so many plants that are growing up the cinder block right now.
So Amanda Baker, of another plant that I did kill, and that is string of turtles.
Yeah, the string ofs, those are tough ones. They
and
definitely...
I didn't, I bought it, and Candy bought one at the same time when we were there. And mine was like practically dead, and I was like, how's yours doing? She's like, it's doing wonderful. I'm like, well, of course, but mine is dying. And she's like, you're watering it too much. I'm like, how do you know? She's like, because I know you. And I'm like, so I research it, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't like water that much.
It doesn't like water.
And I'm like, every day, I'm like, live, you son of a bitch.
So the key to a lot of those string plants is they're kind of like a cactus. So like how a cactus saves all of its water within its stem or its trunk, the string of pearls, the string of turtles, their water is actually stored in each one of those individual structures that hang off the vine. So the key to watering those is actually you want to see, whichever it is, the pearl or the turtle or the banana, you want to see it start to shrivel, almost like going from a grape to a raisin. Not that extreme, but once they start to shrivel a little bit, that's when you know that it's dry and it needs some more water. And if it plumps back up, that's exactly what it needed.
So Pam asks, I'm trying to save money this year by starting my 1 annual flowers from seed. Suggestions on low-cost grow lights. I'm not really the one to ask that. I have a lot of low-cost, but I've been buying like $15, $20 lights on Amazon. These ones behind me were like $19.99. There's 3 strings of them. I have another one. There's actually, this is actually supposed to be really good, but is it inexpensive? I don't know. It's a Sansi, and
yeah.
I don't know. Jimmy recommended this. I reached out to Jimmy. This was like $25, and it seems to work. I have one going in my fish room right now, and it seems to work. But I don't know if that's like, I'm not sure what your price range is by
I can't see the comment.
low cost.
Was she talking about starting trays of annual flowers?
I think so.
So on Amazon, I really like the Barrina line.
Can you spell it?
Barrina, I think. But they've got lots of different styles of LED, grow, full spectrum lights, and they're linkable, which is awesome. So like you can get 2-foot sections or 4-foot sections, and you can have them kind of dispersed on the cords will link together and they can be far apart, or you can straight link them up together.
You'll have to
do a long shelf.
You'll have to leave a link afterwards.
Yeah, I'll leave a link.
After the stream is over,
Yes.
we'll post a comment with a link to them.
Yeah. There's lots of, Amazon's getting lots of good lights in right now.
Negligence is how you grow them. Yeah, that definitely was not my strong suit.
Yeah, most of the time with plants, when you're getting into the hobby, you're either forgetting about them and never watering them, or you're watering them too much. And most plants are getting watered too much.
I was way too eager.
Yeah.
I was always in there like with my mister, like, ooh, yeah, tropical rainforest.
Yeah, they don't necessarily like to.
So now I just need to buy plants that love water.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to hook up basically a misting system in the whole room.
I'm going to be doing the same.
You know, like you have your air loop system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have a mist system to just mist the whole room.
Yeah, my air loop, actually, I'm going to be attaching a drip misting system around that, because right now, I mean, there's really no point in me cleaning the glass aquariums because I'm just misting like crazy. But there's a few areas specifically that I want to put like a mist to come down.
Just use $14.99 48-inch LED lights from the dollar store. I definitely have my fair share of
Dollar store.
LED, like $15, $20 shop lights from Walmart. And I don't know that they're doing the job well, but they seem to be doing a job. I don't know if they're doing it well, though. I don't know enough about plants. Like, I have nothing to compare it to know if those, like, sure, my plants aren't dying. They're kind of growing, but if I had better lights, would they be growing way faster? I don't know.
I would say, so my biggest indication is when they start to grow. They either look more vivid or you start to get new leaves. That's when you know that it's trending in the right direction. If your plants are changing position, like reaching for a light, it's probably not strong enough, or getting leggy, they like to call it. But I have a hodgepodge of different types of grow lights or light bulbs on pendants, and everything seems to be doing pretty good now. I think it's more so like density.
Okay, Jacob, sorry, buddy. I've seen this question like 100 times, and I just keep skipping over it like an idiot. He says, hey, I have a 10-gallon with lots of plants, 9 minnows, I'm assuming.
White cloud mount minnows, maybe.
There you go. 5 cherry shrimp, 1 neon blue, Steenfott and goby. Would adding some coolie loaches be overstocking the tank? I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be a lot, but thankfully they're all small fish to begin with. I would do at least 3, but I wouldn't do more than 6 because I mean, the white clouds are kind of a bigger fish, but still pretty small. But yeah, I would do between 3 and 6. Danny heard the dollar store and got excited. I've never seen lights at the dollar store.
I know my dollar store, and there is no LED plant lights there.
Rocky and Miles with the $1 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. To start my flowers and veggies for the garden, I use Walmart shop lights, at least 5,500 lumens. These are very bright and work great. Yeah, those are the ones I have in my fish room.
I just use the traditional for like my veggie and plant starts for outside. I just use the traditional shop lights, and I've just added full spectrum tube bulbs to them. I do have like one high power LED grow light, but it sends off that pink light, and I swear when I leave the room I see pink spots everywhere for hours, so I don't love to use that light.
My completely unrelated story to seeing blots was when we had that snowstorm. Like Friday, I was out just clearing snow all day, and it was like super sunny out.
Oh.
And I came in and I was blind. Like all I saw was blue everywhere.
You don't even realize.
And I'm like freaking snow blind. Like I knew exactly. And I'm like, why did I didn't even think about it when I was out there, but it was just blue. I couldn't see anything. I'm just like, for like an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the worst.
My eyes are actually, so someone has safety glasses. They're not safety glasses. They are just glasses.
She's trying to look smart.
They're actually not prescription. They're just blue light glasses. I was.
Oh, do they filter out blue light?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
When I was an idiot and tanned in
Welcome
high
to the
school and burnt my eyes, and so I've got sensitive eyes, and I've been getting headaches lately. So I put on my blue light for staring at this.
She's Dr. Danny tonight.
That's right.
The plant pro for show. Grow lights are way too pink. Make the plants look ugly, in my opinion. Nothing looks green.
Yeah, I don't like the pink spectrum. It grows plants really well, but I feel like I have to turn it off to even walk in the room and turn it on. And I thought about setting it up in the fish room, but then again, I can only imagine if it does that to my eyes, it would do that to the animals' eyes as well.
Yeah, and there's certain.
I don't think it would be good to have that.
Not that this is a reptile channel, but there's certain reptiles that you can't even use LEDs on, like any LED. Doesn't matter the spectrum or the color.
I just have that
like
bulb.
Bearded dragons is one. Like
Really?
you can blind bearded dragons with LED lights.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Seedlings get leggy because the light is not intense enough. I'm going to be starting my own vegetables from seeds here pretty soon, so
We just got some started.
any info I can get on seedlings, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Love them
they love
glasses.
Water, so they'll be
Oh, good. They're in good hands then if they love water. Rocky Miles says, love them glasses. I'm an optician, so my opinion matters.
Thank you. Yeah, you wouldn't be happy with how much I ruined my eyes when I was younger, but I am trying to make up for it later in life. I spent 5 years as a bookkeeping accountant for construction companies, staring at a computer all day. So these have saved my life.
What is your thoughts on polka dot plant? I have no idea what that is. I'm gonna have to look
polka dot plant.
Polka dot plant. I might be getting trolled right now. I don't know if that's a real thing.
I know lots of plants have polka dots.
No, that's good. Polka dot.
I can't think of one specifically.
Polka.
No worries, Joseph.
Oh, we've seen
I didn't
these.
take it rude either.
I've seen these.
Oh yeah.
Never kept them.
I just got like a Phytonia and 2 of those little small ones for the gecko. I've never worked with those plants before until I just got the gecko, and now I'm starting to get some of those more terrestrial plants going.
Amanda, it's bad for some of their eyes. I just know specifically for bearded dragons. I don't have like a complete list of what reptiles LEDs are bad for, unfortunately.
Katie, yes, I completely understand, and that was my reasoning too, but I most definitely ruined my eyes, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen to you. The problem is I loved to fall asleep in the sun or wherever I was, and when you sleep, you don't like clench your eyes closed, so I have like a slit of sun damage across my eyes.
Oh, T-Dub. Yeah, so he says there was a really awful substrate. I couldn't remember what it was. And he says, hey, Bob, did we ever figure out if it was a Seachem fluorite substrate being the worst? Yes, it actually was, but it was specifically the black sand. The Seachem fluorite black sand.
What's wrong with that one?
It is basically the dirtiest. Not even basically, it is just
like
dirty.
Any of the Seachem fluorite. You have to wash and wash and wash and wash and wash. It just makes a mess in your tanks.
Amanda, if I remember correctly, it says some reptiles are able to see the flickering of the current going through LED, which causes it, and it might just be like cheaper LEDs, and it's the flickering that causes them, it will cause them to go blind. And it's worse with like blue LEDs. I mean, I need to research this again because it's been years now. And we briefly talked about it when I was going through and getting my master's in herpetology, my master's certificate. But yeah, it's been so. I'd have to research it again. It's been too long.
That is not my realm at all. Any question I have about the gecko that Bob gave me, I go to Bob. What do I do? What does she need?
Amanda says polka dot plant is great in terrariums and paludariums. That's good to know. I've never known the name of that plant, but I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's kind of pretty, but I've never actually got one yet.
It needs to be repotted because they dry out super fast. If you have a plant that dries out super fast, it either doesn't have enough organics in the soil, like it's probably spent, it's done, it needs to kind of be repotted or add some stuff to it, or it is it's basically taken over the pot itself, and the root mass creates kind of this system, or it can just be a matter of it's too compact and just drains over the side. But if you find that you're having to water and water and water a plant, you may want to try one of those few things.
Hey, Danny Ken Aquatics, how's it going, buddy?
Hey.
He tried to.
Danny and or Ken?
Well, Danny tried to burn down their fish room the other day, so.
Oh, I feel you.
That must have been a fun time. I actually just mounted a fire extinguisher right on the outside of my fish room.
That's smart.
So you can just grab it and go. And I'm also looking at automatic fire suppression systems for the fish room.
That's awesome.
But that might be a little out of my budget, I'm learning.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's got to be something. because it's just, you know, it's an 8x16 room. There's got to be something. And I get it, like, suppressing it will probably kill all the fish, but it's better than losing the whole
building,
house,
yeah,
especially because it's not mine. And I have insurance on it, but I don't know how much it would cover.
Right. That's my biggest fear, is that I moved into the fish shed before the systems were done. Because that's just how my life goes. Nothing goes according to plan. But I am running 43 tanks off of one double outlet.
Like 15 amps. It's ridiculous.
And I've now reached the part, like, if I want to plug in my fan in there, I pop the breaker. If I want to plug in one tank heater for the one that's in the corner, I'll pop the breaker. And luckily there's the RFDI in there, so it does pop it every time, but still, it's like, I was just talking to my husband, and I'm like, can we please prioritize the
You need more power.
I don't even have lights on every tank. I can't, because I added a plant light bulb in the center, pop the breaker. So.
Fish room says I'm scared of fire. Like, I'm not so much with a fish room, but when I had, like, I've had many reptile rooms, and there's so many heat bulbs and lights and heat mats that I was like always paranoid back then. I'm a little less paranoid because, you know, if something starts on fire, we've got thousands of gallons of water right nearby, but it's still always something looming in the back of my mind because it's, like I said, it's not my building, you know, I worry about it now because it's my investment, but I worried about it a lot more when it was in the house because it was in our home. So I definitely feel better in terms of floods or fires that it's away from our living structures, but would feel absolutely terrible if it went up in flames. So I'm going to blow through a couple of these fast. UPS for Living the Dream says, I love my EcoComplete and I will use it. I love EcoComplete too, but the Seachem fluorite sand is awful. Someone said they got the gray sand. It's just terrible. It's basically dirt. Like, it's dirtier than dirt. Like, dirt is cleaner than that sand. I don't even know how they do that. Sunshine's going on a reptile eyes with LED lights, rabbit hole. Yep, absolutely. Research it. It's crazy. Ginger Grumble with the $20 Super Chat Fire Suppression System Fund. Thank you. That's one fire extinguisher.
Thank you, Ginger.
Oh, and the other thing I've been doing is I ordered, so I have fire detectors, right? But I ordered Wi-Fi ones. Oh. Because the room is like so insulated. Like if it's going off, I'm not going to hear it.
That's true. Yeah.
And so now it'll send notifications to my phone. So
I wanted to get one of those for, eventually I want to put some Wi-Fi cameras in there, but that's one of the systems that needs to be upgraded. I can't get any of my Wi-Fi out there.
We've tried to stream from her fish shed before.
So bad.
And it's awful.
I do like Zoom meetings and stuff that I would love to do out there, and instead I got to do it against a blank wall. But yeah, I need some more Wi-Fi out there. Work on my Wi-Fi plugs. So I want one of those sensors for floods.
Oh. See, I'm not too worried about a flood.
Until I get my...
Knock on wood, now it's going to flood tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was Scary Bob. When Danny screws up, she catches fire. So this is probably a mistake that a lot of people have made. She didn't make the mistake.
What happened?
Basically, she was doing a water change and the heater caught fire. But like I've made this mistake where I drain the water and the heater stays on and it burns.
Yes, yeah.
Somehow, like her heater came up, like so pulled on the cord during a water change, and the heater came up on the lid. She has the polycarbonate lids like I have, and it burned through that and then burned through the LED light. Ooh. So.
I've never had. I've definitely drained some tanks down and left the heater plugged in.
And when you start hearing the crackling, you're like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, shoot, the heater. That's why I'm glad I don't use heaters anymore.
Yeah, I just heat their room now. There's a few tanks that get just a little bit too colder than I would like them to through the winter. So next winter, I mean, I'm really hoping our electrical's done by then.
Okay, Fish Dream says, I wonder how much dog poop Bob cleans up. 6 per day. 3 in the morning and 3 at night.
I'm very fortunate that my husband does all of the yard cleanup.
Have you ever seen a Pinatus batfish? Looks like it's straight out of Tron. Yes, not appropriate for home aquariums apparently. So the old fish store that was in Marysville got one sent to him by accident.
Really?
And I just walked. I never go in the saltwater section, but I happened to like what in the world?
They're so cool looking.
Yeah, it was huge too. Like, I mean, he didn't order it, so he didn't have a tank for it. It was in a 55-gallon. It was like top to bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same type of batfish, but yeah, batfish in general.
They get tall, right? They
Yeah.
kind of get the angelfish vibes with the tall finnage, both top and bottom.
Joel says that's intense. You kind of assume your fish tanks can't. I'm paranoid about setting things on lights, and I'm paranoid about heaters. So that's one of the reasons I don't use heaters anymore. Push the heater down. I get that, but see, when you get the crazy fish people that have like 100 tanks, you don't always remember. You know, you're just trying to fly through your water changes. Some have heaters, some don't. You kind of forget. You just kind of get in the groove, you know.
It takes me with 43 aquariums. I mean, it's a process. I would say my biggest culprit though is flooding the tanks.
Oh, Curtis says, he quotes me saying, "I'm not too worried about a flood." Says the guy sitting in a lawn chair because he lost his other chair to a flood.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Okay, so I'm not too worried about flooding in the fish room. You know we're in flood warning all week till like Friday.
It's raining like crazy here.
So it's
made
gonna flood again.
Fun getting here today.
Thoughts on pool filter sand as substrate? I've done it. I don't think it's bad.
I will say just be careful with your pool filter sand because there are certain kinds that have
so they
like
say that there's silicate in it.
Silicate or different types, basically. You just want to make sure it's a solid pool filter sand.
So here's where I disagree.
Okay.
Almost all pool filter sand, at least locally that I've seen, has the little silicates in it. And they say it's bad for corridoras. And I've had corridoras in every single tank, and I've never had them. They say it'll shave off their barbells, and I've never had that happen. They'll just sift right through it, and I don't know.
I've
Granted,
never worked with the pool filter sand.
There's probably maybe some pool filter sands out there that have larger chunks of silicate. I'm sure there's like different grains and stuff, but
I'm trying to remember. So I went to go buy some pool filter sand, and they were out of their normal stuff, and they just had one. And I don't remember if it's silicate, but it had something else in there. And I didn't get it, and I never got another bag of it. So I just use regular. I love the Carib Sea sand. It's my favorite, but my budget has been getting the Petco sand, which I don't love as much. It floats, but if you pre-soak it and then put it in your tank, it's not as bad.
Telling you, we just need to make a trip to Seattle and get some of the lapis luster sand.
I know. Yeah, the only two planted substrates I'll use are the Eco Complete and Fluval Stratum. But other than that, I really have just kind of switched to using sands and some like gravels, pea gravels and rocks.
Danikin says, but on a positive note, I won 3 of the L236 at the auction yesterday, and the breeder is selling me 2 more.
Wow.
Nice. And Jacob says, Bob, I watched your Zis Bubble Biofilter video again. It's still my favorite video intro you have done. I don't remember the intro I did on that. I don't know if I want to know. Yeah, the super nice pickup on the L236. And feel free to ask any questions, fish, houseplant related. Usually we try to stay on topic for like a half hour. We busted right through that. So any questions you guys have, just throw them. Silicates aren't going to cause Cory issues at that grain size. Yeah, that's exactly. But it does cause diatom algae, doesn't it? At the start, like while your aquarium is kind of like getting settled, yes, it'll absolutely cause diatom algae. But almost all new aquariums get diatom algae.
I'm not worried about algae.
Yeah, you got enough of it.
I got all of the algae, every one of them. I even got blackbeard algae now.
Her209 says, lapis luster sand is the best bang for the buck substrate, but it's also hard to find. Yes, luckily it's not hard to find for us. It's just far away. But yeah, it is by far the best sand, by far. Ginger says, next trip to Seattle at work, I'll pick some up for you both. The lapis luster sand. I work in the Columbia Tower, so it's close with the $5 super chat.
I didn't realize you came to Seattle. It's exciting.
I have heard pool filter sand causes more diatom algae in the beginning, which it does. Yes, but it does go, yeah, it absolutely will. I mean, silicates is what caused diatom algae, so. Can you guys explain about bamboo, how to use it in a tank, please? So I don't have much experience And I don't know if they're talking about the bamboo plant you buy from
Lucky
PetSmart.
bamboo?
Yeah, or just bamboo in general.
I have a couple Lucky Bamboos going, and they definitely like to be immersed. So like you can definitely root it down in a tank, but it's going to want to either, its growth needs to be close to the surface or right above it, and then it'll boom. I think I've got some that are, I've had one in the house that started from here and it's over 6 feet tall, and then it broke thanks to my lovely cats. And I stuck it in one of my nano fish tanks, and now it's growing up and over my 55-gallon and going. So I think they're great in terms of if you want kind of that life coming up out of your tank. I just wouldn't plant them 100% under the water.
Freshwater Sea says, Cemex, who makes lapis luster, discontinued my favorite sand. I'm very butthurt about it. It better not be lapis luster #2, because I will be very butthurt as well. I'll be very angry. I will make some phone calls. I will call the president of Cemex, not our current president of the United States, but the president of Cemex, and I'll be like, get that back in production.
One
and
of
he'll
these
be like,
years I'm going to come down and get some more, and I'm going to need it there.
And he'll be like, who are you? And I'll be like, I'm Bob Mother effing Steenfott. And he'll be like, oh my gosh, we'll get on it right away.
Oh boy.
Because once I name drop, I get anything I want.
It makes me cringe,
because it's true.
I mean, I'm so happy for you, but awesome.
It works. And I'm obviously kidding.
I know you are.
Okay.
I know you are.
I don't get anything. Lucky Bamboo does not actually grow fully submerged. Oh yeah, I did want to bring that up. Do not fully submerge your Lucky Bamboo because it'll rot and dry.
Yep.
It definitely has to be out of the water.
Yeah, you don't want to plant it 100% of the water. And the deeper the substrate, the more the long term it'll the stronger it'll be, and the more long term you could keep it in there.
Jacob Hill says, what happened to the co-op substrate they used to sell? So that was lapis luster sand that they used to sell, and it just got too, well, I can only assume because I have no idea, but I would assume that it just got too expensive to ship that kind of weight. The priority, USPS priority, used to not have a weight limit, and I think it does now.
That makes sense.
At least when I go to ship stuff, it always asks me the weight. So, and it used to not.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if that's something new. I can only guess. DIY Aqua Pros has some videos on Lucky Bamboo, and Zenzo did a Lucky Bamboo indoor guppy pond. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to start to play with plants that would grow out of your tank, Lucky Bamboo is a nice, easy one. I mean, they grow amazingly well.
5/8 sand is the one that's gone. I called so many places, but one guy was like, yeah, I can get you a pallet. You need a pallet. I mean, that stuff is getting harder and harder to get. I would absolutely get a pallet. If they would deliver it, I would get a pallet.
Just tell them who you are,
Environmentalists have been filing lawsuits against. Hey, it worked with them. It worked with Alaska Airlines. All right, I got free first-class tickets.
Do you know who I am?
It worked. It worked once. All right.
I'm somebody from Washington.
They were like, "Oh, you poor guy. I've seen your channel.
Oh,
we can help you out." Environmentalists have been filing lawsuits against Cemex because it was being mined from a California beach. And I've been hearing for years that they've stopped, but for years I've still been able to buy it. So.
Yeah. I heard there's a sand shortage.
If there was a sand shortage, there'd be a glass shortage.
But that's what I mean. There's so they're taking glass now and recycling it back for sand. So there's about to be a glass shortage.
Well, there's shortages on everything, so it wouldn't surprise me. Cemex Plants is a few hours from my house. I'm tempted to drive down and beg for my 5/8. You should. I would. I bet Bob is in top chat. Only one of them is in top chat. I have 2 chats open.
Oh, I've only been looking at the live chat one. I didn't even realize there's one over there.
I should probably change that to live chat.
Rocky and Miles, I have a large angel begonia that was a clipping from an almost 40-year-old plant that was my friend's mother's. Yeah,
Wow.
that's my angel wing is a clipping, and I have just been able to clip and clip and clip, and that's one that roots really fast and easy in water.
JP3 says, I've started growing peace lily out of the back of my tank. I
Yeah.
placed a grow light about 2 feet above the tank, and it's growing. Um, is this going to cause a problem with algae? No, it'll help algae.
Yeah, it'll help.
Yep.
I have a peace lily that I've had for several years now, and it's planted in a glass vase so that you can see the root structure, and it is busting at this. It literally busted out of its last pot. So any day now, it's going to crack that glass vase open, and I'm thinking about splitting it up and putting it in different tanks.
Dang, I was in top chat. Yeah, see, I don't even know why there's top chat and live chat, but anyways.
Yeah, I hate that. And I hate that it diverts to the top chat.
It's basically saying, if your comment isn't good enough, we're not going to show it. So try harder.
I don't like that. I don't like any.
Top chat needs to not exist. I know, Facebook does it too. It's so annoying. Any benefit of using clay balls as a substrate? Well, the clay balls float. So I think you would have to like bake them or boil them or something to get them to not float. But I have them floating all over my 125 because I put a pot that had clay balls in it.
Oh, are we talking about like the little like hydroponic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I assume.
Yeah, I think they're pretty porous, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to bake them.
It's on my Amazon wish list to get some of those for my plant starts, but I've never actually utilized
It's
them.
way cheaper to get them from like certain stores in Marysville that are for growing other stuff.
Yep.
Because I got like a 40-pound bag for like $8.
What?
Yeah. That was pre-COVID, so it's probably like $100 now. So
I need to go there to get some fertilizers.
the
It's
real
the best
deal.
place to get like bagged soil too, like bagged potting soil.
Actually, fertilizer
And
now
fertilizers.
is more expensive than Amazon.
Really?
Yep. I was very unhappy.
Jeez.
But it used to be, yeah. What
Jimmy?
happened? What happened?
He just said my like literally my love language. He's got some-
I got a bunch of cutting of rare
some-
pothos for you, Danny, not Bob. He'll kill. I don't kill pothos. What are you, crazy?
Maybe the rare ones.
I've never in my life killed a pothos yet.
I mean, they're pretty good for a good starter plant.
They're pretty hard to kill.
You can underwater them for sure. But I'm excited. Jimmy has gotten a pretty awesome plant collection. The two of you guys have gone gangbusters.
Well,
Which is
him
exciting for me.
way more so. I'm just like, give me them $2 plants. He's like, $2,000? Give me 10.
And then he can cut them up and make more.
Where is this comment? Psycho. So we talked about this at the beginning of the stream. What is a good indoor plant that will not poison my cats? We're not really going to go there because we're not experts on that, and we don't want to say like one is safe and then you get it and then your plant eats it and then dies.
Yeah.
But there are lists online from the SPCA, apparently.
I have a lot of cats and a lot of plants, and they definitely mess with my plants, but they, have never had an issue. But that's definitely not my knowledge. I've never really retained the list. I've looked at it many times.
Plant or critter girl, sorry. Plant in lava rock chunks. Will they float? Lava rock will not.
Yeah, lava rock is actually a great. I use lava rock like as a drainage layer when I pot up plants, or like say you have a pot that doesn't have holes at the bottom. Do a good amount of a drainage layer like a lava rock, and that way, even if you water it and it sits at the bottom, the roots can grow through it and drink it up from there. But it's I like to do a good base layer so that it's not just soggy soil.
So this is kind of an interesting question from Her209. It says, I'm going to use activated carbon as a substrate to absorb liquid nutrients easier for plant roots, but will it cause hole-in-the-head disease in fish? Well, hole-in-the-head disease in fish, in my experience, is usually caused by very poor nutrition and poor water quality. Nothing to do with the water type as far as soft or hard. And the other thing is carbon won't absorb all nutrients, like it won't absorb minerals generally. But I think it's an interesting idea, and I think it would be a fun experiment. I've never done it, but now it kind of sounds like something I want to try.
I've only ever worked with carbon in a, why can I think of it? Canister filter.
So Mark says, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Are you going to make a video showing your incorporation of houseplant roots into your tanks?
Yes.
So Mark, if you actually go back to 2 videos ago on my channel, you'll see my 125 paludarium, and you'll see all kinds of roots and plants and all kinds of craziness.
I actually told Bob, I was like, we should take some pictures and clips of our houseplants interacting with our tanks, and then I barely made it through water changes. So
yeah, we were gonna have like we wanted to have like an actual presentation.
Yeah.
But with the flooding and busyness and excuses.
I did start to take some footage and stuff, and Bob is now teaching me how to edit videos. So hopefully I'll be able to put some of that stuff together. But I've really got some plants established. I have one up in the corner that doesn't have a light on it, and it's actually growing. It grew into the tank, and now it's growing up into the next tank, growing along the front of the tank, and growing up over the rafters and along my air loop. And that vine that's now going along the air loop has a completely different color and variegation pattern than the rest of it. It's pretty cool.
So Dedicated Aquatics says, Bob, you have to drag Jimmy to Fishtoberfest this year. Would love for him to shoot the fish house. So Danikin, I'm trying to do more than that. I'm trying to drag the entire co-op crew to Fishtoberfest.
I would love to go to Fishtoberfest this year.
Do I ever use inert substrate? Yeah, my favorite substrate, which is the Simix Lapis Luster Sand, is inert. Yeah, absolutely. I don't find it... I mean, depending on the plant, is going to depend on if it's harder to grow plants or not, if the substrate's inert. Some plants will just grow in anything. Mm-hmm. Oh, excuse me. Hope you guys didn't hear that. So yeah, Ken, I'm trying to get all of them down there.
I forgot that you live right down there by, I saw Lucas Brett's video when he went to your fish room.
Not only does he live down there, he's the president
Wow.
of GPass.
That's awesome.
For now. But yeah. The Goldfish Police on Facebook preach that carbon causes hole in the head. Maybe I've never seen any like scientific studies that would show that.
I've never personally experienced a hole in the head either, so I have no idea.
When's the last time Bob edited a video? The problem is I edit a lot of videos and then I like, this is garbage, and I just delete them.
He's his own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I'm like,
he tells me that any content is better than no content, but then he's his own worst critic.
Yeah, because of Jimmy. It's Jimmy's fault that I delete my videos.
I mean, Jimmy does a pretty awesome job.
Before he started uploading videos, I would upload any piece of garbage to YouTube. And now I look at him like, well, man, if Jimmy sees this, he's going to unfriend me.
Oh.
So then I have to delete it.
And see, I don't post videos because I'm not on Jimmy's level yet.
Hashtag blame Jimmy. Blame Jimmy.
No, I'm learning through watching his videos.
Like, if you watched our last Get Outdoors video, like watching that video versus being there, the video was like 100 times more exciting than being there. And when we were leaving him, I'm giving him my SD card so he can get the footage. And I'm like, I don't know how you're going to polish this turd, because we basically filmed nothing and everything failed. And it was still a really fun video to watch.
Well, and I think he really gets into the details and, like, he spends a lot of time on it and can edit out certain things and that would visually distract you.
I'm pretty sure he spends about 5 minutes.
Well,
like, he's that good. He's seriously that good. He's just like, bloop, 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 done. Because sometimes I'll be like, well, if I have a video that I really think is special, when I got the puffer fish, or when we did the donation to the animal shelter, I was like, can you please edit this for me? Like, it means a lot to me. I don't want to ruin it. And I'll give him the footage, and then I'll be like, all right, a couple days is going to be sweet. And then he'll be like, okay, it's done. I'm like, I just uploaded it. How can it be done already? What it is.
Yeah, he's definitely got some ridiculous talent, and apparently with plants as well, which is exciting to watch. I saw your...
Sorry. Bill A, absolutely correct. Facebook causes hole in the head. That is 100% factual. I've seen the scientific data to support that.
Yeah. I don't do Facebook. It's not for me.
Just Marketplace. I love Facebook Marketplace. Oops.
Jimmy, I'm super jealous of your new orchids, by the way. I just saw your video of your little, like the mounted delicate orchids. Those are like on my list.
Psycho says I can only grow Anubias and Cryptocorin. Wendetii. I mean, that's a lot of us. That's where it starts, though. Eventually, you start to figure stuff out.
I think every video I ever watched on YouTube told me how easy Java Fern is, and that Java Fern is the beginner's plant. I can't keep Java Fern alive to save my life. But Crypts and Anubias do pretty well.
So Java Fern is easy if you have hard water, which we do not.
I have hard water, but it's also acidic.
That's the opposite, but the same.
Well, it doesn't grow a Java Fern, and
No,
that's
it's not
what it
going
is.
to.
It's got a lot of minerals, but no pH.
The Facebook causes a hole in the head. That's my favorite comment ever. I've saved 5 years not having Facebook. It's really, like, it's easy now, but it used to be really hard to, like, skip over comments and not just get sucked in. Now it's just like, I don't got time for this nonsense.
Yeah. I can't.
You have to remember others don't see that part of the plant. It's definitely a vining plant. Okay. Between Bob and Corey, I've learned to distance myself from those toxic Facebook groups. Yeah. There's so many out there. And it used to be forums, and now it's just Facebook. It's just terrible.
I think what I hate about a lot of that, like, I like, you know, that someone is willing to answer your question. Like, because a lot of times I'll go to him like, have you ever seen this before? Like, I just, for the first time, got, what'd you call it?
Then I'll be like, you need to go to the doctor.
My fish do. Seed shrimp? Is that what it is?
Huh?
Is that what you called it? Seed shrimp?
Seed shrimp, yes.
Seed shrimp. I had set up 2 blackwater tanks and noticed in one of them I have seed shrimp, but I'd never seen that before. And so I said, I'm like, do you know what this is? What is this? Is it okay?
Look like little shrimps to me.
But the tough part about that is that when you go into those groups, you just get flooded with everybody's like opinion, really, is what it comes down to. And I've said this a lot, that like when you get into a new hobby, you're always like, at least I am, I'm looking for like the way to do it, the black and white of it. Like, don't do this, do this. And that, what I've learned through a couple years in the hobby, is not the case at all. There's so many different variables and shades of gray that I almost don't even like giving advice, because it's
TikTok is
so
better
many
than Facebook.
different things.
Just because
I concur.
Just because he's famous on TikTok. Jeez. Yeah, Facebook is just.
Curtis, are you famous
awful.
on TikTok?
He's probably the biggest TikToker in the whole group here.
What?
Is that what they're called? TikTokers?
I really like Haley with Oddball Aquatics TikTok.
Oh my gosh, it's so many.
She cracks me up.
It's so many.
I love it.
So many. All right. I'm glad it's just not me that has a tough time with Java Fern. It's very specific. I mean, if you have the right water, yeah, it's easy to grow, but you could pretty much say that about any plant.
Right. It's really all, and that's where the shades of gray. It's your environment, you know, and all of the parameters that kind of come within that environment.
We kind of touched on it on that video we did about water change, where I was like, just stop doing water change. If you go to like a Facebook group and you'd be like, what's my problem? This is happening. What do I fix it? 99% of the comments are, do a big water change. I'm like, well, what if it was the water change that we just had this problem with UPS or Living the Dream, like just water change, water. I can't figure out water change, water change, water. I'm like, well, what if it's your water coming out of the faucet that's bad?
I honestly, so, I mean, that's, again, when I went to YouTube, I wanted to know how often to change my tanks. And it was, I think 40% to 50% water change once a week is what I kept seeing, something around that. So that's what I did for a good long time. I lost a lot of fish.
And plants weren't growing.
And plants weren't growing, and it was largely because of my particular water. I have very hard water that's also very acidic. So a lot of that fresh in a tank was really hard on different types of fish and or plants. I also, I found that as long as I have a lot of plants, I don't necessarily need to do more frequent, smaller water changes. But smaller water changes is where it's at in terms of like the health and success long term for me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly my point.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of like do water changes or don't do water changes. It's You got to figure out your water and like the system that works best for you.
I only go to Facebook to copy links for other people now. I don't even remember the last time I checked, or even more so, posted. Yeah. I got a question. Can you use regular plants for aquarium plants? If you're regular plants, you're considering like house plants, then no.
Depends.
Well, not like fully submerged.
Not fully submerged.
You never want to fully like. Pothos will grow underwater, but you need some above the water line as well.
Yeah.
Like I've never had pothos die underwater as long as there was some above the water as well.
Yeah.
Got a dirt tank question. So I was being an idiot when I was planting stuff last year. The plants grew messy and thick and constrict flow. Have you ever redone a dirt tank? Got tank ready for... So yes, son of a quack. It's going to be very time consuming because depending on your plants, if they have lots of roots, like Amazon plants or crypts, you're going to pull out lots of dirt. And to avoid that, you have to pull them out really, really slow. The one time I tried it, I failed miserably and ended up just tearing down the entire tank and starting over because it just got so dirty.
You could probably do it slowly, and if it doesn't already have a hang-on back, you could add a hang-on back with like some really fine filter floss just to kind of help you. Okay, I was trying.
If you've done a dirt tank and you've pulled out like a massive Amazon sword, just like, oh, why did I do that?
I've never done
your
a
tank's
tank.
Your tank's like it's gonna take days for it to go back down, and then you have all the dirt on top of your sand cap or gravel, whatever you use to cap the dirt. Yeah, it can really. Honestly, it's probably better to just cut all the plants that you want to get rid of at the surface and let the roots die off in the substrate.
Oh,
I mean,
breaks my heart.
Well, I mean, you can replant them. Obviously not on Amazon, but you know.
I don't even like the plants that we would get from the wholesalers that you're like, oh, just cut it back. It's all going to melt. I'm like, one leaf at a time. That's it.
I don't know. I'm really considering doing dirt in the 300 gallon just because it's going to be way cheaper than any substrate. So we'll see. Joining a little late, I have a mix in my tanks of aquatic and houseplants, pothos. I found it was killing my swords, presuming they were taking away nutrients. So that's actually interesting. Is there a good combo of houseplants and aquatics that would work more balanced? It might not be an issue of being balanced. There's something called allelopathy or something, which is actually chemical warfare between plants. So it happens in aquatic plants, and I don't know if it would if houseplants do it, but
I'm pretty sure all different types of plants amongst certain species, they will do that. They communicate in that way with that kind of chemical warfare. But it's, I think, in the water or, you know, through the air through the water, it disperses it. I know that, is it Amazon swords that there's a particular plant?
So jungle val will kill duckweed. Jungle val will kill duckweed. Now, if you have like one jungle val in like a 55 gallon tank that's covered in duckweed, it's not going to do it.
Yeah.
But if you have like a lot of jungle val and then like your surface is covered, jungle val will kill off duckweed over time.
If it's not that chemical warfare, it definitely could be a matter of nutrients because I know that pothos, once it gets that root system in the water, it is a pretty heavy feeder, but also swords are. So I use for all my crypts and all my swords, I use the Aquarium Co-op, the root tabs. And as long as I think you're feeding that, if that is the issue, if you're feeding that individual sword, it should be able to compete.
Yeah, and then Ginger said you possibly also just need squirt birds.
Yeah, that too.
Yep.
Squirt birds, that's
a new word. Janet says, hey, just grab some Purple Passion Danios in Miami. Can't comment while on the road, but I'll be lurking. Hope you guys are dried out after the big rainstorm. It's all week long, Danio. And Janet, I think I responded to you, but if I didn't, I apologize, and I'll do it after the stream. But it's been a really busy weekend, so.
Danios, what's their preferred water parameters?
They can go in anything.
Really?
I've seen them in South American biotopes. I've seen them in Lake Tanganyikan biotopes.
I'm sorry, not Danios, Rasboras.
Well, it's going to depend on the Rasbora. But most of them are going to be pretty neutral.
Neutral?
Like 7 pH, 75 degrees.
Of all of the different types of fish that I've worked with, I've struggled the most with rasboras.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pea stone is $4 for a 50-pound bag. Option for the I've thought about the little pea stone as well. That's what I did in the 240 gallon. So it's like I either do that or I try something new, and I kind of want to try something new. Not that dirty tanks are new, but a 300 gallon dirty tank, I don't think you see very often. So I think it would be kind of fun.
That'd be cool too, because that big of a tank, that would help keep the algae down, right? So
Yeah.
you could really turn it into a cool display.
Yeah, so the natural carbon in dirt is great for fighting and getting rid of algae. The other reason I'm going with dirt is because it's a 300-gallon tall tank, so it's only 7 feet wide, and it's like 30 plus inches tall.
Oh.
So I'm not going to be reaching down there messing with the plants a lot. It's going to be like set it and forget it, so I don't have to worry about pulling plants out and uprooting all the dirt.
I bought from the dollar store one of those grabber things so
I
that
need
I
one of
can
those
reach
so bad.
behind the 240.
Oh my god, I'm going to be thinking of squirt furt when dosing ferts now.
I know.
I do when I walk around, because I put Easy Green in a squirt bottle. So I make the sound effect. I go squirt, 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 squirt. I don't know why, but I do.
That's a good idea. I'm the worst about fertilizing houseplants or by tank plants. I like the root tabs because I'm like, I'm gonna get my root tabs done, and then 3 months later I do it again.
I'm telling you, you got to get Easy Green in a squirt bottle, especially with a fish room.
I think that would probably make it easier.
I make a game out of it. I just stand in the middle, and I'm like, pew, 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 pew. And I just spin around in circles, like, I don't know why.
Oh, fish streams. Raspberries tend to drop off for me, and I'm hard water. Yeah, see, I have hard water. Now, I do balance out some of my tanks. I find that I don't use a lot of crushed coral anymore, but I balance it out with just lots of stuff in the tank. Lots of plants, lots of substrate, lots of rocks and woods, and then smaller water changes. That's helped. I haven't brought in any rasboras lately, but the first couple years I tried them, I really struggled, so I've kind of pumped the brakes.
Where they're coming from in the wild is definitely going to be more soft. However, they're not actually coming from the wild.
Right.
So it's really hard to say. But naturally, they're definitely not going to prefer hard water, because they're coming from like jungle, like Amazon. They're South African, but I think more like Amazon biotopes for rasboras.
Yeah.
Easy Green rocks.
I do like the Easy Green.
Oh, I was like, wait, Easy Green rocks? Is this a new product?
And don't use
That's
Easy
confused.
Green on your houseplants.
Nope.
It's definitely a different system. You know, Easy Green is potent because it's meant to be dissolved in water. If you squirt a little bit on a houseplant, it's definitely
going to fry
Fry
your
it.
leaves.
Yeah.
I've heard of people like squirting it in the soil and having good success, but like using it on like the leaves of your plants and stuff,
Don't do it.
it'll fry them. I did that.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
I know, you're the one that told me.
I was just like, ooh, these are gonna grow so good. I'm like, squirt, 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 and I'm
I
like,
know this by
going out the next day.
experience, by proxy.
I expected this huge jungle, and everything was just like shriveled up and dead. I was like, oh, it was like $100 in plants.
The plants, plants and fish hobby, I've definitely been like the most heart-wrenching sometimes when you think you have a good idea and it's like,
Yeah,
no.
that backfired. Also a big fan of Haley's, but Bob has reservations. I don't know what that means. In my honest opinion, Danny needs to get some of Portland, Danny's F1, Rio, Orinoco, Altum Angels, or somebody up in Washington.
I
So that
love
would be
angels,
Danikin.
and I've never. Wait, who's saying that? What do you see?
Alec. I don't know. Like Haley and I are pretty good friends, so I don't know what I have reservations on. I mean, I don't like TikTok in general, so maybe that's it. But
Oh, Portland Danny's.
Yeah. So Danikin.
I would love to try the Altums. I love angelfish. I have like 30 of them.
Rocky Mile says, do you use your fish tank water to water houseplants? I only
Yes.
use fish tank water. I have multiple jugs that I just dip into fish tanks, and I go around and water all my plants.
I use my 75-gallon tank, and I dip my my thing in there. It's only got one betta in it right now, so it doesn't
Ooh,
really
all kinds of nitrates in there.
Doesn't really need water changes. So I just kind of, from what I take out to water the plants, I fill that back up. Or when I'm siphoning out, sometimes I'll siphon in, or as I'm adding water in my tanks, I'll just use the hose and go around and like deep water some of my plants. But yeah, the fish tank water definitely is a hit.
Alec, Haley just trolls me with TikToks. Like, she makes her TikToks, and then she messages to me, like, because she knows I hate TikTok. So she'll, like, troll me with her TikToks.
You were on TikTok short for a little while.
Yeah, I uploaded some stuff.
I send you videos all the time. I'm like, haha, Bob's going to like
Yeah,
this.
I logged into TikTok for the first time, and it was like 20-some messages from you. I was just like...
That's my love language. If I send you, like, TikToks or videos or memes, like, you know you're in with me.
I'm in the in crowd now. Better to just put Easy Green in the aquarium and use the water change water to water houseplants. Yep.
Yep.
So, and I specifically only take water out of one of my tanks, and that's my 125 that's like super overstocked. So I know there's lots of goodness in there for the plants.
Ooh, smoky Pinoy. I know that Pinoy, Jimmy is actually the one that told me this. Pinoy just means angelfish, I believe. And I can't remember which language he was talking about. But I associate the Pinoy angels with that, almost kind of like the bat.
The batfish?
The batfish. It's, rather than coming to a point like you see on the typical angels, it's rounded and like full, and I love that look. And they just have some really cool, yeah, like smoky colors and blues and sheen. They're really pretty.
So I got to bring this up. Brian says, I went to use some tank water for my plants and scooped up 2 guppies. Luckily, I checked before pouring the water out. So I will sit there for hours and try to net out fish. But anytime I just take a cup and go, whoop, the fish are like, whoa, let me in the cup. And every time I'm like, gosh, when I go to net one, can't touch them.
And that's exactly why I use the 75-gallon with 1 betta in it.
So frustrating.
I've had her, she's my oldest betta. I've had her for years, and she knows the drill. She stays out of my way.
Sand is just really tiny rocks? Well, I guess, technically. How much spring water can you use for a 40-gallon fish tank? Well, you can use 40 gallons if you need 40 gallons of spring water. Like, spring water has many different meanings.
I think spring water versus, I wouldn't use purified water.
Well, you don't want RO DI water.
Yeah.
Unless you plan on, like, remineralizing it. I thought Pinoy was referring to Filipinos. Does it? I have no idea.
I could be wrong. I just, I said it one time when we did the shop tour, the after hours shop tour video. I mentioned it, that those were my favorite, and he was just saying that it means angelfish or something like that.
Is there a small leaf plant that would do okay with the roots in the water? I don't like bigger leaf plants like pothos that much. You probably have to find some small like vining plant, but I don't know enough about houseplants, so you have to think of any off the top of my head.
A small vining. You would not want to use a Hoya as a house, like a aquatic plant. I don't think. I haven't tried it yet. I guess I could with a cutting, but I don't think it would do very well. But I'm trying to think. So pennywort or creeping jenny.
Yeah, creeping jenny would probably work.
It's a smaller leaf. It's kind of like if a pothos and a Brazilian pennywort had a baby. That's the best way I can put it.
Alex said Pinoys usually have a wide dorsal mutation.
Yeah.
With more black and blue.
Yeah, it's nice and flowy. I got a bunch of angelfish last year from Tiffany White, and some of them have that. I forget the words you just used, but I say the big flowy dorsals. That's how I describe it.
Wide dorsal mutation.
I like the flow.
Creeping jenny is used around ponds. You can maybe make a hanging houseplant.
Yeah.
I need to get some more creeping jenny.
I have creeping jenny in the greenhouse right now, in like potted plants. and then some that's just growing along my garden floor. I don't have any growing in the fish room right now, but once it kind of starts to come back in for the season, I'm going to cut some, especially my low boys. I feel like the low boys can take just about anything and start getting it going.
Jericho says, how do you breed rainbow gobies fish? I've never bred gobies, so I don't have my answer. I don't have the answer for that, my friend. I apologize.
My first rainbows that I ever got, I got from Bob. I got Goiter River rainbows.
He's talking about rainbow gobies, though.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I'm talking about
just
rainbows.
making sure. First rainbows. Okay, moving on. Let's go.
Squirrel. It's just like a segue, basically. I've got a pair that's breeding. There's too many fish in there to do anything about it, but I think I'm going to pull them out and see if I can keep them going.
Can you share the wireless microphone you are using? I see you and Danny are wearing each one. It is Ceramonic. Ceramonic?
Ceramonic. The Blink 500 transmitter.
There you go. And there's two that go to one receiver. So it's really nice for two people.
Tiny leaf transand. Yes, I do have actually some cuttings of that plant that I've just started to grow out of. I always start it in the nanos or the low boys and go from there.
We need a song on low boys?
Song?
I don't write songs. I don't know what that means. We need a song on low boys?
Creeping saxifrage.
I saw that word and I didn't know if it was a real word or not.
I gotta look that up.
I'm about to get my first fire eel. Any care tips? I would 100% get lots of frozen bloodworms or live blackworms. They love worms. I think my plan with the dirt is to drain the tank. That's probably smart. Most plants are just stem and valves. Also might add some stuff to basic potting soil. Have magnesium deficiency, so Epsom salt in there would help. Son of a quack, draining the tank's going to be the best way.
Saxifrage.
Sassafrage. Ooh. All right. I thought spring water had minerals. Yes. Well, I mean, I guess it would depend. If I went to my local grocery store and bought spring water by the gallon, it would have minerals.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Sassafrage.
That looks like maybe like a bog style plant. I like that.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe on this live stream. Yes, I haven't reminded about the likes, but we did hit 150, so you will come back. That was the rule. She wasn't going to come back unless we hit 150.
I wasn't aware of the rules before I got here, but
you made the rules.
That was the rule. So thank you for the 150 likes. I will be back.
All right. Any last comments here? It is about that time, aka Saxifrage stolen a fur. Did
we really go for 2 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
The best grass plants for a promo that's great. What? The best grass plants? Saxifrage. I feel like I'm going to horribly mispronounce that word one of these times. Has small leaves. There you go. I have a Fahaka puffer, so I feed plenty of bloodworms already, obviously in the same tank. Will a fire eel okay in a community setting? Fire eels will eat anything that fits in their mouth, and they get big. So eventually you will only have one fish. My sassafras is eating her dinner right now. That's her dog. I learned that in the last live stream. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming out. Definitely thank Danny for coming on the live stream. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming and hanging with us.
Yep, I learned a lot, so I hope you all did too. Thank you to the super chatters, the likes, the subscribers, the followers, the lurkers, everyone. Ginger Grumble said this was a very educational stream. Thanks, Bob and Danny.
I'm so glad.
I agree. I learned a lot.
We pulled it together.
We did. And so until next time, we will see you all next week. Bye. It takes like a minute. There's like a lag. Where am I at? Here I am.